The first four announcements for the WWE Hall of Fame class of 2017 have been made. So far, 5 individuals are going to be inducted this year. There is a legendary tag team, a 3-time WCW World Heavyweight Champion, wrestling's only Olympic gold medalist, and the longest reigning SmackDown General Manager. I want to quickly look at these 4 announcements, these 4 out of 5 competitors who are going to be joining the WWE Hall of Fame. I think it's the Friday before WrestleMania. First of all, the Rock and Roll Express, Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson. Now, these 2 men are absolutely one of the best tag teams I believe I've ever seen. The smoothness that they worked with each other in their matches is just amazing. If you go back and you look at them many years ago, it's one of the things that I really appreciate, and obviously sometimes you can tell when from the start when a team will actually work, is how those partners work with each other, and the fluidity that the Rock and Roll Express worked with each other, especially in those double team moves that they did, is absolutely something to behold. They're the longest running tag team in wrestling history, if not one of them. They've started teaming together in 1983, so that's 33 years plus. I don't think, like I said, if there is another tag team that comes close to it, there's not many. I fully think that they deserve their Hall of Fame spot. If you look at their Wikipedia page, you can see just how many organisations that they've worked for and how many championships they've held. The NWA, USWA, they've also worked for the likes of WCW, ECW, and of course WWE. And I'm glad that that they are now going into the WWE Hall of Fame. They are absolutely fully deserving of that honour. Like, I think everyone on this list so far is. Next up, I'll talk about Kurt Angle, the only Olympic gold medalist in wrestling history. In pro wrestling history, obviously. Kurt has actually been away from WWE longer than he was actually there. He's actually spent more of his career in the likes of Impact Wrestling, and he is a phenomenal athlete, phenomenal performer. I've had the opportunity to watch him wrestle live a couple of times. I think he's sadly done with any wrestling appearances in the UK, but he is, for going from the amateur ranks to the professional ranks is a very difficult thing to do, and I think he is definitely the one person who has made that transition so easy. He is certainly, I think, the best person who's ever made the transition from amateur wrestling to professional. And I know, and amongst professional ranks, there's names that come to my mind like the Steiner brothers, Dr. Death Steve Williams, lots of guys that went kind of from collegiate wrestling, that kind of amateur wrestling, but to pretty much lead what you could really call a professional amateur wrestling career, and then make your way to professional wrestling. Kurt transitioned quicker and better than I think anybody else in the business. And obviously the various championships he's held, all the WWE championships, the NWA, the IWGP, he is the headliner for this class of 2017, and he deserves it. We don't know how physical he's going to be going forward, whether he's going to actually wrestle any matches, whether he's getting done in the ring. I know he's looking to hang the tights up very soon, he said that in previous interviews, but Kurt Angle, absolutely one of the guys that deserves any Hall of Fame anywhere in the world. Also going in is Theodore R. Long, Teddy Long. He certainly deserves it just for the length of time that he's been in wrestling. his hard work in there. I remember watching Teddy Long when he was the manager of the likes of Doom, Ron Simmons, and Butch Reed in the very early days of WCW on UK TV, and you know, he's obviously been also a referee. He's been worked backstage, and obviously, like you said, he's longest running SmackDown general manager currently in the program's history. I think he's one of the kind of underrated guys. He's one of the almost unsung heroes of wrestling. There's guys like Teddy Long that are around the business that don't get the attention that, especially after he left the position of general manager of SmackDown, that some people forget about, and some people just kind of go, okay, well, he was in charge, now somebody else is in charge. But he's had a hell of a long career, and all that I've heard of, he is very well liked, very well respected. So it'll be great to see him make his speech at the Hall of Fame. I think it's Friday before WrestleMania this year, because of the NXT takeover. But I'm happy for him. Like I said, I grew up watching him being around the likes of WCW. So I'm really happy that he is going in this year, and he's joined by the gentleman that was announced just this afternoon or early this evening. Another guy who I grew up watching, and I had the pleasure of meeting about 2013, if it was a couple of years ago at least, here in Dundee when Scottish Wrestling Entertainment brought him over. Diamond Dallas Page, the 3-time WCW World Heavyweight Champion, is finally going into the WWE Hall of Fame. Now, one of the things as grown up as a WCW fan, the one thing I'm glad of is that the WCW history is not just disappearing, because it could so easily have disappeared. It could have been a side note in WWE history, but with things like the WWE Network and WWE realizing, and I know some people may think it's just purely for the monetary value of it, but realizing the value of the WCW video library, everything that's going on with that. Diamond Dallas Page to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame is another great thing. I've been along since pretty much he started in WCW. I remember him managing the likes of the Diamond Stud, who was Scott Hall, later then Razor Ramon, and then back to WCW as under again his own real name of Scott Hall, as part of the New World Order. Obviously, really the original member of the NWO, because it was him that made his debut first. Although Hulk Hogan was already there, but he really was the one that kicked it off with his debut on Nitro. Dallas has really worked, again, just like Teddy Long, Theodore R. Long. He's worked his ass off to get to where he is, and like he said, I don't know whether I think it might be still on YouTube, but there was a Superstar series that was released by WCW shortly before the company failed, and as he says on there, he's gone from the penthouse to the outhouse several times, and he is one of the hardest working guys. He's all the name Positively Page was a nickname really given to him, I believe, and he truly is that. When I met him, he had all the time in the world for the fans. He had all the time for everybody. I'm lucky enough to have a signed copy of the very last edition of the WCW magazine. I had him sign that day, and certainly, even years after, after WCW and years after he left WWE, the Adler Complex for that Wednesday night was completely sold out for that show. that is how much he's still. I mean, that was clearly, that was a couple of years ago, and kind of before the whole explosion of the DDP Yoga, and it's kind of the start of him helping Scott Hall and Jake Roberts. But that's how popular Diamond Dallas Page is. That there was just a huge amount of it. He wasn't a current big name wrestler that you see on TV every week that just been released. He'd been off TV for a while, but there was still enough. He's still so popular that the place was packed on a Wednesday night, a weekday night in the middle of the week. The place was absolutely packed to the gills for Diamond Dallas Page. And again, I've been a long time fan of Diamond Dallas Page. Followed his career right the way, like I said, from managing the likes of Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, the Fabulous Freebirds. And what great timing is, I think it's at least within the next 24-40 hours, the Hall of Fame Showcase DLC will come out with the Freebirds. And obviously Dallas is already in the game, but we'll get a previous version of him. Kind of the version that I remember growing up watching initially. But very happy that Diamond Dallas Page is going in the WWE Hall of Fame. Again, like I said, looking at the entire class, I'm happy with it so far. Ricky Morton, Robert Gibson, The Rock and Roll Express, Kurt Angle, Theodore R. Long, and Diamond Dallas Page are all so far announced for the WWE Hall of Fame. Good class so far. Obviously, I'm hoping there'll be another couple of names in there. We don't know who. Though strong rumours about Diamond Dallas Page this year. Again, I'm happy that he is now going to be inducted in the Hall of Fame. But overall, yeah, certainly in my opinion, I think it's a very good and very worthy class of 2017 so far when it comes to the WWE Hall of Fame.